So I've been alive for 25 years, and I've only recently came to the conclusion that the entirety of those 25 years I spent living a complete lie, bro. A complete whole entire damn story, which is a lie for those of y'all who don't know that. Before I get into it, I want to thank you for clicking on this video. For those of y'all who don't know me yet, I don't really go by scripts unless, they have something to do with life after life, like one of my films or a story that I'm doing. But when it comes to these little YouTube videos like this, I tend to just go off the dome and kind of go raw and slightly unedited, unless I say something crazy, right? Or, I stutter, which I tend to do sometimes. But thank you for clicking on this video. Yeah, I recently came to the conclusion that I've been living a lie, bro. And when I say recently, I mean the past 6 months to a year. July or August of 2025, I had what some people would call a quarter life crisis, right? There are two main things that really were the driving force of me needing to pivot, right? The first thing, I realized that living your life through what people deem is right for you is some of the worst. Let me tell you something. That is the worst thing you can do on this planet, outside of committing a crime. Okay, I'm not talking about committing crimes. I'm talking about doing stuff for you personally. The worst thing, I even think this is worse. I probably shouldn't say that. I'm not gonna say that, but this is one of the worst. I'll deem it. I'll calm down a little bit. This is one of the worst things you can do, bro. Even if you have one person or a couple people, right? If you know damn near hundreds of people in your life, you can have one person that even puts just a shred, just that much. You see that right there? You see that shit right there? You see that? That much of what they deem right for you in your life, that's some of the worst things you can do. That's one of the worst things you can do to your entire life. Outside forces literally can change the trajectory of your life. Why do you think people who start hanging out with people they don't really like, and I even go a little bit deeper with that. People who hang out with troubled people. If you grew up being a good kid and you start hanging out with troubled people, one little simple thing they either do to you, say to you, or put you in can change the trajectory of your life, bro. It can. I'm not saying that's what happened to me, but this is really it's a sensitive topic because a lot of people don't talk about that. Having people in your life can be the worst thing, but it can also be the best thing you can do. You know what I'm saying? The people in my life, let's say, for example, my parents, right? Love my parents to death. I love them so much. They've never projected anything onto me, right? But my parents are just two people. Yeah, they're my parents, but I've gone to school. I have people who I see, who I worked with, managers and co-workers and friends. I'm not talking about my main day one homies. I don't have a lot of them. I don't let a lot of people in my life like that. But friends, right, who I let in my life have just taken the steering wheel and damn just, just started driving me. You know what I mean? That's not that wasn't good, bro. That wasn't good. I had to sit back and realize that I am a people person. I do love people. I'm an only child, so a lot of times only children don't particularly do people a lot. I guess I was different. I turned out to be different, because both of my parents are extroverted in a sense. Well, not in a sense, pretty much extroverted, especially my mama. And I guess I just took that on, from both of them, because I would call myself an extrovert, but it became instead of me just wanting people in my life just to, maybe hang out with, chill with, the least bit of what those people will put into me, put into my brain, I just took and ran with, bro. I completely took and ran with. For example, right? I'm about to call out this dude, right? I'm not even putting nothing on this dude, right? But it was this guy who I recently was like a gym partner with, you know, at the gym I used to go to before I go to the one I go to now. Me and him would go to the gym damn near every day, right? He was a cool guy. You know, nothing that I'm not sitting here calling him out. I'm not going to call him out his name. I'm not going to say he was a terrible person. But there were a lot of times where I almost wanted to fight this dude because of what he was trying to project onto me and my workout routine in the gym. You know what I'm saying? I like the Bruce Lee, who else? Bruce Lee kind of slim type built NBA point guard. I'm like 6'1", you know, 6'1.5", 6'1", 150, 160 pounds. Not particularly NBA point guard, but that's like the build where I'm mostly, you know, comfortable with. I can bulk up a little bit to maybe 175 and that's it. You know, that's it. I'm chilling. I don't need to be nothing big. I don't need to be no big, you know what I'm saying, gorilla looking at, you know, I don't need that. I don't need that. But honestly, that's what he was trying to project onto me. And that started messing with my workout routine. I've been going to the gym probably like around 1.5 to 2 years up until when I met him. I was going by myself specifically for reasons like this. I know that because of my build, how tall I am, people start projecting that onto me. He was a little bit shorter. He kind of had a little bit of a gut. I'm not going to say he was fat. He wasn't fat. He had a little bit of a gut though. And he was older, right? He was an older guy. He wasn't like, you know, he was in his 30s. He wasn't, you know, he wasn't 60 or nothing, but he was an older guy. You know, I'm 25. I think he was maybe pushing 10 plus years older than me. I can't remember exactly how old he was, but that's one thing. Now that's just like a small example. You know, this wasn't nothing that led me down, you know, somewhere that was destructive, but that was when I came to the conclusion that, yeah, bro, you're a people person, and you know, you let too many things in your brain, bro. You know, it's almost like if I meet somebody and if we get past the initial small conversation phase, if you will, you know, once they start putting stuff in my head about me, I take it and run with it. I don't take it and completely destroy my life with it. But if somebody were to tell me, for example, you know, somebody were to tell me that I'm not funny, I take it like, damn, you know, I'm not funny. I've been told that I'm kind of a funny guy. You know, I don't know if I'm particularly, you know, a comedian, but you know, I think I can make some people laugh. But if somebody were to tell me I'm not funny, you know, back then I would take it and run with it, and then literally sit my ass down and think, okay, how can I be funnier? How can I make people laugh more? If I'm not funny, this dude saying I'm not funny, maybe he a comedian, right? Maybe he's a comedian. Comedians are the most funniest people on the planet. You really can't get too much more funny than a comedian or a crackhead. You know, how am I going to sit here and become funny, right? So now I'm studying funny. When I was trying to become an actor a couple years ago, I did a few online classes here and there for about, you know, a whole year. I even did, I don't want to say an interview, but I even had like a few conversations over the internet with people who are in the industry. And, you know, I told them how I practice. I told them where I think I'm at personally with my acting career. And most of them, some, not all, but most, completely shut my ass down. Told me that, nah, bruh, you ain't gonna get nowhere without no, I'm saying, you're not gonna get nowhere without no acting classes. You know what I mean? You might as well take your ass down to, I live in North Carolina. You might as well take your ass out to LA. You need to go down to Atlanta. You need to hit up Tyler Perry. You need to go up to New York and get your ass in a Broadway. That's the only way you gonna learn, man. That's the only way you gonna learn. Fast forward about 3 years later, I recently just finished filming my first film, short film, but my first film. I got nothing but praise. Now, granted, I'm not gonna sit here and say that I'm prime Will Smith, prime Denzel Washington. I'm not gonna sit here and say that I'm the black Leonardo DiCaprio, but I got praise for my acting being pretty good, right? Not once have I sat my ass down in the acting class. Not once have I went and paid for any acting classes that were from somebody who was in the industry longer than I've been alive. You know, I didn't take my ass out to LA and blow up my entire savings, blow up my entire credit score, you know, be homeless for a little bit just to say that I'm a rising star, I'm a rising act. You know what I mean? I stopped letting people in my life that project stuff onto me. If you can't accept what I have going on and you always need to input your little, hey, do this, do that, do this, do that, it's fried, bro. It's fried. That was the first thing. Second thing, right? Second thing, how long we been recording? We've been recording 11 minutes. That's not that bad. Second thing, right? This is kind of more of a personal thing. I felt like, and this is, something that a lot of people in their 20s, teens, a lot of people who are predominantly younger tend to struggle with. Looking at all the other people succeeding in things that I wanted, right? All right, my fault, y'all. Battery died. The setup might look a little different. I might be a little bit closer. Angle might look a little different. I had to set everything back up, but yeah, bro. Understanding that you need to sit down and be honest with yourself and be like, am I doing what I want to do for me? Am I doing what I want to do? Is this what my parents wanted me to do? Is this what my best friend said is good for my YouTube video? Is this what my teacher said I would excel at? So now I'm pursuing this as, a career. Is this something that my coach wanted me to do? My coach to sit here talking about, hey, you need to be point guard. You need to do this, you need to do that. I mean, and see, in sports it's a little bit different, because your coach, you hopefully you see what I'm saying. Hopefully you get where I'm coming from. You really do need to understand that, bro, it's only you. I said this in my last video, bro. You came into this earth by yourself. You're going to die by yourself. Nobody's going to come save you. People will try to save you, try to give you advice, right? Most of the time, that shit is something they think you need to hear. It's nothing that you actually need to hear, bro. It's rare. It's very rare you get advice that you actually need. You always get people projecting. You always get people thinking, hey, man, let me tell him this. This is going to brighten his horizon. He is going to open his mind up. She's going to know exactly how to live her life after I tell her this one. Sit your ass down, bro. I don't need none of that shit. I don't need no life changing, no life altering, no career altering. I don't need no divine intervention. I don't need none of that shit, bro. I need people who just support. A lot of times you don't even ask for it. Dude who I went to the gym with, like I said, I'm not calling him out, but a lot of times he would want me to do shit that I clearly can't do. He would want me to do muscle ups. Do I look like I can do a muscle up? I mean, I am a little bit, more toned than what the clothes that I wear a lot of times suggest, but I can't do no damn muscle up, bro. I can't bench 200 fucking pounds. I can barely bench what I bench now. You know what I'm saying? I don't need you to sit here and put none of this onto me because this is what you want to do, right? This is what you want me to do. No, I get that a lot of people just want to help, right? I understand that. But a lot of times you helping can literally destroy. That's something that a lot of people don't think about. You helping, you opening your mouth can literally destroy somebody's whole entire, you see what I'm saying? The most grounded, true to their self person on the planet can still be sensitive to words, man. Words hurt, bro. Sticks and stones may break my bone, but words will never shut your ass up. Words hurt like a motherfucker. They can. I'm not going to sit here and say, you need to sit here and cry if somebody cuss you out. But I mean, words can really define a moment or a conversation or really anything. You see what I'm saying? Be careful who you let in your life. And I don't know if I talked about the second reason why I had to pivot my life before my camera died, but the second reason is really just me looking at people who are around my age who have made it in what I wanted to do, so acting, doing a business, entertainment, content creators, streamers, all that. And they've made it, and I feel like back then, at least I felt like, oh yeah, that should be me, man. I done went through all this bullshit, I done went through this, that, and the third. I done been grinding since I was like 15 trying to do YouTube, da, 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 da. It wasn't your time, King. For real, it wasn't your time. Calm down. It's not your time. Life after life might not blow. You see that right there? That's my business right now. That shit might not blow up for a while. But instead of me looking at, okay, well, this dude is 23. He has a 6-figure business. I'm about to be 26. My business is still losing money. Instead of me looking at it like that, I'm going to look at, okay, 23-year-old doing the damn thing. I don't know if I want to, get in contact with him to see if he can teach me anything, because that reinforces, my first point. Be careful who you let in your life, who you have talking to you, giving you advice. But I'm going to look at him and be like, okay, if I see something that I like that I want to implement into my business, but I need some help, maybe I can try to get in contact with him. If not, I'm just look at him from afar, respect him from afar. It is what it is, bro. And that's something that a lot of people really just do need to sit down and think like, bro, it's not your time. It's not your time. And that second point is really just that. It's not your time. You can't force anything. You can't try to put yourself in a position that you're not ready for, because it's not going to happen. Even if it does happen and you get lucky, you're going to mess it up. You're going to mess it up. If you get into a room trying to pitch yourself and you're clearly not used to pitching what your product, yet what you have going on, you're going to look like the dumbest. You're going to look so stupid. You're going to look so damn stupid. You're going to look so stupid. If you can't sit there and tell your parents what your product is, what the hell are you going to think somebody who can possibly give you money to brand yourself out, to build your shit out, they're going to look at you like, honestly, probably like you're on the spectrum, bro. I'm keeping it real. Those are the two things that I had to ground myself with, bro. Understanding that the people who you have in your life can hurt you so bad. They can also help you more than you'll be able to ever help yourself by yourself. But I think there's more times than not a chance for somebody to give you bad advice and for you to go spiraling after that bad advice. But they package the advice as, yeah, this can help. Wrong. This hurt bad. Second one, stop looking at other people, man. We got to live by our own rules. We got to live by our own standards. You know what you want for your life. You go get that shit, bro.